You see something long before anyone else does, a subtle shift in tone, a half-second pause before an answer, a tiny detail that does not fit the rest of the story. Your mind tracks patterns automatically. You process human behavior faster than most people around you. You pride yourself on that clarity, yet you stay in relationships that quiet your spirit. You excuse behaviors that you would warn a friend about in 10 seconds. You sit across from someone you love, and you feel a strange friction in your chest. You know something is deeply wrong. You can outline the exact dynamic on paper. You can explain the psychological root of their flaws. You know why they act distant, why they lash out, or why they break their promises. Yet you do not leave, you do not set the boundary. You turn your intelligence off right when you need it most. Why does a sharp mind surrender to toxic dynamics? Why do high IQ individuals build logical fortresses around people who actively drain them? Most people assume intelligent individuals are immune to simple relationship traps. They think smart people make logical choices in love. That idea is dead wrong. Your intelligence is not protecting you from destruction. It is actively helping you construct the rationalizations that keep you trapped. The last mechanism you will discover today is the most dangerous one. It is the exact psychological trick your own brain plays to make you accept mistreatment as proof of your own depth. You notice every small inconsistency. While most people react to surface behavior, you analyze the intent. You watch someone forget a commitment and you do not just see laziness. You see their childhood stress, you see their fear of failure, you see their complex coping mechanisms. This is your first gift and your first trap. You possess high cognitive empathy. You can step into another person's mind with incredible accuracy. But cognitive empathy without emotional boundaries becomes a prison. You understand their bad behavior so completely that you forget to hold them accountable for it. Sigmund Freud identified defense mechanisms as the mind's way of dealing with uncomfortable realities. Rationalization is the most sophisticated of these mechanisms. It requires real mental horsepower. A simple mind experiences hurt and retreats. A complex mind experiences hurt and writes a dissertation to explain why the hurt was logical. You look at a partner's emotional coldness. Instead of seeing neglect, you see an avoidant attachment style born from an overbearing mother. You take a cruel remark and reframe it as a symptom of their inner pressure. You turn bad treatment into a fascinating clinical puzzle. You tell yourself that understanding someone is the same as accepting their behavior. It is not. Understanding a toxic pattern should help you navigate away from it, not force you to sleep inside it. You use your intellect to bridge the gap between how they treat you and how you wish they were. You believe you can outthink emotional risk. High intelligence creates a specific kind of arrogance in human interactions. You spent your life solving hard problems. You decoded difficult subjects. You fixed broken systems at work. You navigated complex social structures. So when a romantic partner presents a deep, chaotic, personal mess, your instinct is to treat them as another project. You believe that with enough patience, insight, and strategy, you can unlock them. You treat their red flags as a challenge to your problem-solving capacity. This is where dark psychology intersects with self-deception. Robert Greene wrote extensively about the power of illusion and how people feed their own desires through false hope. In relationships, you construct an illusion of potential. You fall in love with the person they could be if they simply applied your insights. You see their raw material. You see their buried sensitivity. You tell yourself that you are the only one smart enough to really see them. While most people walk away from chaotic partners, you lean in deeper. You mistake emotional instability for depth. You tell yourself that standard, healthy relationships are boring or simple. You convince yourself that enduring emotional friction is a sign of an elevated bond. You are not building an elevated bond. You are using your mind to justify a broken dynamic because your ego cannot accept a problem it cannot solve. Your brain treats information as safety. When a relationship turns unpredictable, your anxiety spikes. A less analytical person might express that anxiety through anger, tears, or an ultimatum. You do not do that. You analyze. You research attachment styles. You read books on trauma responses. You analyze their text messages. You dissect every conversation with surgical precision. Daniel Kahneman demonstrated how human beings suffer from cognitive biases that preserve our current beliefs, especially under stress. You fall victim to the confirmation bias of hope. You search for any logical thread that proves the relationship is workable. You collect small pieces of evidence that show they care, while ignoring huge mountains of evidence that show they are indifferent. You use intellectualization as a human shield against feeling genuine pain. Intellectualization is a defense mechanism where you process emotions through abstract thought rather than feeling them directly. You analyze your heartbreak instead of weeping. You categorize their emotional abuse instead of feeling the immediate, healthy instinct of self-preservation. It is safer to explain why your partner is emotionally stunted than to sit with the terrifying truth. The truth that they simply do not respect you. The truth that your mind is spinning its wheels to avoid a devastating reality. You harbor a hidden fear that your high standards make you unlovable. High intelligence often breeds a profound sense of isolation. You grew up feeling slightly out of sync with the people around you. You analyzed things too deeply. You picked up on things others missed. You were told you were too intense, too analytical, or too critical. Over time, that feedback creates an unconscious wound. You start to suspect that your mind makes you hard to love. So when someone enters your life and offers passion, attention, or intense validation, you lower your guard. But when that person begins to display destructive behaviors, your old wound speaks up. You do not blame them. You blame your standards. You tell yourself you are overthinking again. You tell yourself you are demanding too much. You convince yourself that expecting basic consistency, respect, and emotional maturity is unreasonable. You suppress your sharp instincts because you are afraid of being labeled impossible. You tell yourself that love requires sacrifice, so you sacrifice your internal baseline of sanity. You watch them break promises, but you stay quiet. You choose to doubt your own reality rather than risk being alone again. You weaponize your self-awareness against yourself. You ask if you are being too harsh. You ask if you are projecting. You turn your critical thinking inward until your boundaries are completely reduced to ash. You trade respect for the comfort of predictability. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius emphasize seeing things as they truly are, stripped of our internal judgments. He noted that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, yet intelligent people routinely build elaborate internal worlds that mask simple realities. You know that ending a toxic relationship creates immediate, unpredictable chaos. It requires dismantling a shared life. It means accepting failure. It forces you to face a void of uncertainty. Your intellect hates unmeasurable variables. A destructive relationship, for all its pain, provides a closed loop of predictable metrics. You know when the fights happen. You know how the apologies sound. You know the exact cycle of distance and reconciliation. Your mind calculates that living in a familiar, miserable pattern is safer than stepping into the unknown, so you use your intellect to maintain the status quo. You make excuses to your friends, you lie to your therapist, you frame your endurance as loyalty, you frame your tolerance of disrespect as unconditional love. Erich Fromm explored this pattern in his work on human freedom. He noted that people often escape from freedom because real choice creates overwhelming responsibility. You pretend you have no choice. You tell yourself the situation is too complicated to leave. It is not complicated. You are simply using complex language to hide your simple fear of starting over. You carry an unconscious belief that pain is the tax you pay for extraordinary connection. This is the ultimate psychological trap, the final mechanism that keeps high-functioning people stuck in low-quality relationships. You believe that easy love is superficial. You view healthy, stable partners as simple or lacking passion. You associate high emotional conflict with high intellectual resonance. You tell yourself that two complex minds must inevitably clash. You view the toxic arguments, the late-night interrogations, and the emotional exhaustion as evidence of a powerful, unique bond. This is a profound cognitive error. You are confusing emotional instability with depth. You are confusing trauma responses with passion. Dark psychology shows us that intermittent reinforcement creates the strongest addictive loops in the human brain. When a partner gives you intense validation, then pulls it away, your brain enters a state of hyperfocus. An intelligent mind loves solving hyper-focused puzzles. You become addicted to the challenge of winning their approval back. You view every moment of peace as a victory you earn through your mental effort. You are not experiencing a deeper connection. You are playing a psychological game designed to keep you addicted to breadcrumbs. You are using your intellect to dignify a basic dopamine trap. Your high intelligence was designed to help you navigate reality, not escape it. You do not need to analyze your partner's childhood trauma one more time. You do not need to read another book on human behavior to understand why they disrespect you. You already have all the data you need. The data is present in how you feel when you wake up next to them. The data is present in the constant, dull ache in your stomach. The data is present in the way you suppress your truth to keep their peace. True intelligence is not the ability to rationalize chaos. True intelligence is the courage to accept simple, uncomfortable facts. Someone can be broken, hurting, and complex and still be fundamentally dangerous to your well-being. Understanding their pain does not obligate you to absorb it. Your mind is a powerful tool. It is time to stop using it as a defense lawyer for people who drain your life force. It is time to use that intelligence for its original purpose, to protect your peace, to see reality clearly, to walk away from situations that require you to break yourself to keep them intact. The moment you stop using your mind to justify mistreatment, your mind becomes your ultimate freedom.